Apollos is a fascinating and somewhat lesser-known figure in the New Testament, but his life and ministry hold profound lessons for us today, especially in the context of motivation, leadership, and spiritual growth. Though no book in the Bible is directly attributed to him, Apollos played a key role in the early church, particularly in Corinth, where his teachings significantly influenced the Christian community. Apollos in the Acts of the Apostles. Apollos first enters the biblical narrative in Acts 18:24-28. He is described as a Jew from Alexandria, a city renowned for its intellectual and cultural significance. Alexandria, one of the largest cities in the ancient world, was a center of education and philosophical thought. Apollos, therefore, was likely well-versed in the Jewish scriptures and educated in Greek philosophy. The fact that he hailed from Alexandria suggests that he was an individual of high intellect, eloquence, and persuasive ability, attributes that made him a dynamic leader and teacher. Luke, the author of Acts, describes Apollos as mighty in the scriptures and someone who spoke and taught accurately the things concerning Jesus, though he knew only the baptism of John. This is a crucial detail. Apollos, although passionate and well-informed about the scriptures, had limited knowledge of the full gospel message, particularly the work of Jesus after his death and resurrection, and the outpouring of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost. The humility to learn. One of the most striking aspects of Apollos' story is his openness to correction and growth. When Apollos arrived in Ephesus, he began teaching in the synagogue, but Priscilla and Aquila, a married couple who were part of the early Christian community, heard him speak. Despite his eloquence and knowledge, they recognized that Apollos had not yet fully grasped the depth of the Christian faith. Instead of criticizing him or dismissing him, Priscilla and Aquila invited him to their home and explained to him the way of God more accurately. This moment highlights Apollos' humility. He could have been defensive or dismissive, but instead, he was willing to learn. His openness to correction is an essential quality of a motivated person, being willing to admit that there is always more to learn and that growth comes from listening to others, even when they may not be as prominent or as recognized as we are. For all of us, whether in our spiritual lives or our professional endeavors, we must recognize that there is always room to grow. Apollos' example teaches us the importance of maintaining a posture of humility, especially when it comes to learning from others who might have different experiences, perspectives, or knowledge. The power of eloquence and passion. Apollos was not just a humble learner. He was also a gifted communicator. Acts 18:24 states that he was an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures. His ability to communicate effectively made him a powerful tool in the early church. This is a reminder that God can use our natural gifts and abilities to further His kingdom, but it requires us to be diligent in developing those gifts. In our own lives, we can relate to Apollos' story by reflecting on how we can use our own skills, whether they are in communication, leadership, organization, or any other area for a greater purpose. Apollos was deeply committed to the message of Jesus, and his passion to share that message with others propelled him to travel widely, teaching and preaching the gospel. We live in a world where passion can sometimes be overshadowed by distractions or discouragement, but Apollos' example reminds us that passion combined with skill can be an unstoppable force. When we pursue what we are passionate about with purpose, it doesn't just lead to personal success. It can impact others in profound ways. Apollos and the Corinthian church. One of the most significant places where Apollos left his mark was in the city of Corinth. In 1 Corinthians, Paul addresses divisions in the Corinthian church that had arisen due to people favoring different leaders. Some in the church claimed to follow Paul, while others said they were followers of Apollos. Paul rebukes this division, reminding the Corinthians that we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field, God's building. This situation underscores a vital principle of leadership in the church: unity and the recognition that all work is for the glory of God. Apollos, like Paul, was an instrument in God's hands, but neither Paul nor Apollos should be idolized. They were merely servants, planting and watering, but it was God who gave the increase. This passage teaches us that true success is not about building our own following or reputation. It's about being faithful to the work God has given us, whether we receive recognition or not. In a modern context, this can be applied to our careers, relationships, and spiritual lives. It's easy to get caught up in seeking approval, chasing titles, or trying to be the best at something. But Apollos reminds us that our ultimate success is rooted in serving God and others, not in gaining personal accolades. Humility, teamwork, and selflessness should define our work in every area of life. Apollos' legacy, a man of faith and character. Despite his relatively brief appearance in the New Testament narrative, Apollos' life and ministry provide a blueprint for leadership in the church and in life. He was a man of great character, devoted to the truth, committed to learning, humble enough to receive correction, and passionate about sharing the gospel. His story speaks to the importance of perseverance. Apollos didn't let his limited knowledge at the beginning stop him from stepping out in faith. Instead, he sought to improve and become the best servant of Christ he could be. The fact that Apollos was so influential in the early church, despite not being one of the original apostles, shows that God can use anyone who is available and willing to grow. For those of us striving to make a difference in the world, whether through our work, relationships, or ministry, Apollos' example is one of steadfast commitment to the truth and a willingness to be used by God. Apollos was a teacher, but his legacy was not in the followers he garnered or the churches he founded. It was in his willingness to contribute faithfully to God's kingdom, knowing that his reward would not necessarily come on earth, but in heaven. Applying Apollos' life to our motivation. Commit to lifelong learning. Like Apollos, we should never stop learning. Whether it's improving our skills, understanding the scriptures more deeply, or gaining new perspectives from others, the desire to grow must remain a priority in our lives. Use your natural gifts. God has equipped each of us with unique talents. Apollos was gifted in speech and had a deep understanding of the scriptures. Whatever our natural abilities are, we can use them to serve others and build God's kingdom. Be humble and open to correction. Apollos didn't allow his pride to get in the way of his learning. When Priscilla and Aquila offered guidance, he humbly accepted it. This humility opened the door to even greater effectiveness in his ministry. Focus on serving, not seeking glory. Apollos did not care about building his own brand. He was focused on serving God. We too should aim to serve others and live out our purpose, knowing that God sees our efforts, even when others may not. Work together for a common purpose. Apollos and Paul worked alongside each other in Corinth, with no competition between them. They were united in their mission to share the gospel. We can apply this principle in our workplaces, communities, and churches by focusing on collaboration rather than competition. As we've seen, Apollos' life is a powerful reminder of the importance of humility, growth, and faithfulness in our own journey. His story teaches us that no matter where we start, with dedication and openness to learning, we can make a lasting impact. If you found this video inspiring, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might need this message today.